So form tolerances, why do we need them? Why do we care? Well, we need them when other tolerances do not provide our desired level of control. When I say other tolerances, I'm meaning size tolerances. I'm also meaning things we haven't gotten to yet, like profile or orientation or location tolerances. So these form tolerances that we're going to be talking about, they specify the needed form precision without requiring other overly restrictive tolerances. For example, if I have a table, I might care that the table is flat, but the only way to control that with a size tolerance is to make it very, very small. That's not fair because, honestly, a thick table should still pass. You just want to make sure it's fat, or make sure it's flat. And if you do this correctly, well, it's going to minimize the part's cost. Now there's 4 basic symbols. Straightness, I knew I did it wrong. I put it on its side. I knew it was different. Straightness, flatness, circularity, and cylindricity. We're going to be talking about straightness first, and we'll just do it in that same order. These are our 4 basic form tolerances. Other tolerances that we're going to run, other tolerance symbols we're going to run into will also control form, but they'll control something else as well. These just control form. Now, what's the feature control frame look like for a form tolerance? Well, there's always 2 compartments and only 2 compartments. The first is for our tolerance symbol, in this case straightness, and the second one is for our tolerance value. In this one right here, you see we have it for axis control. So the diameter symbol is telling me that I'm controlling the axis of something, not the surface of something. Tolerance value tells me what the amount of variation that's allowed is, and I can also have some modifiers if I want here. So in this case, since there is no modifier, we're assuming it's going to be RFS, regardless of feature size. However, the maximum material condition or least material condition can be applied, but only to a regular feature of size. That's going to be things like a cylinder or a hole, or if you want to, this right here. We can do a drive medium plane of this full surface because that's a feature of size. Or we could have a slot cut out of something, and that would also be a feature of size we could control. So those are the regular features of size we're going to be using these form tolerances on. Now some other modifiers we might see. One is the free state symbol, and that one says that you apply this tolerance only when everything is free. Now you're like, okay, what do you mean by that? Well, normally when you're testing these form tolerances, you don't clamp things down. I mean, you could, but you don't, because that could cause it to deform. In fact, it does cause it to deform. So what you do instead is you just let it sit there. So you might have it just lying on the table, and you measure everything. However, sometimes you want it clamped down with a particular amount of force, because perhaps that's how it is in real life. In real life, it's going to be clamped down, and so you want to measure it while it's clamped down. In those cases, you would actually make a note saying, okay, I want you to apply like 500 pounds of force and then make sure it fits. And for anything else that you did not want to be clamped down, or any tolerance you didn't care or did not wish it to be clamped down when you measured it, you would have to apply this free state symbol saying, okay, I know you clamped down that other thing, just don't clamp it down when you're measuring this. Statistical tolerance is a very strange symbol. And we don't talk about it too much, but it's simply saying that our tolerance is going to be statistically calculated. It means that based on, their knowledge of the process, their understanding of, what the company can do and do well, their knowledge of how everything's going to mate together and of the materials being used, they can calculate based on statistics. Okay, I want to make sure that 99.9% of my parts will pass, and I can actually reduce this tolerance or increase the tolerance and it still pass. So they're going to change it, and in most cases they're going to increase the tolerance based on those statistical calculations. That's going to be something that's done in each individual place. They're going to have a sort of a process they follow when they come up with how they can increase the tolerance without messing up the part. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier. I kind of jumped ahead of myself, as I always do. All dimensional requirements apply in the free state, which means there's nothing clamping it down unless we specify otherwise. That's the default. We have to use a note if we want to say that there is some sort of force being applied to hold it in place when we're measuring our tolerances. And if we do that, then we have to use the free state symbol to make sure people know that other tolerances don't have to be held in place. So that's it for this time. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you all later.